Y'all out here dating without any boundaries and you wonder why you can't get married because you have a lack of boundaries. Today I am talking about dating and boundaries. Let's get into it. Hey Rebel, welcome to Untoxify Your Relationship. Here we will talk about all things healthy and how to get that toxic mess out of you and your partnership. I'm your host, Melissa Webb, a practicing licensed mental health therapist with 10 years experience. All right, let's go ahead and hop into it. Hey y'all, it's your girl. So like I said, we talking about dating and boundaries. And of course, I always got a story to go with my topic. Back when I was dating, because y'all know I'm taking a hiatus right now. But when I was dating, I met this guy. He was cool. We had already went out on a date. And so we went out on a second date. I don't know. I think it was like salsa dancing place or reggae. I can't remember. We were somewhere. We were dancing. We had a good time. And then we left. And when we were leaving, he grabbed me and he kissed me. I mean, smack dab on the lips. And I politely pushed him away. And I turned around and I ran down the street yelling, I'm celibate, don't touch me anymore. Oh my God. Yeah, I did that. I was running down the street yelling, I'm celibate, don't touch me. And he calls me. He was like, are you serious? Like, did you just run away from me? I'm like, yes. I felt like good old Joseph where old girl was trying to get him to sleep with her, and he just ran out the room without his coat. I was running down the street like, no, I'm not doing this. So after my runaway situation, we went to get some food, and that's when he kind of set me down and was like, hey, like, no, like, I really need to have sex. I have a high sex drive. I need to have sex with whoever I'm dating. And I was like, yeah, I'm good. I don't want to do that. That's not my ministry. And he was fine. He said, that's cool. We can just part ways right now. I said, yeah, thanks for my meal, my parting meal, because clearly we was eating and he paid for it. And we hugged, and that was it. That's the last time I talked to him. Your dating life will be trash if there are a lack of healthy boundaries between you and your partner. As you see with me, my boundary was I'm not having sex. That's not where I'm at. I don't want to have sex. No, he wanted to have sex. His boundary was I want to have sex. Mine was I don't. We didn't align. That's okay. And we parted ways. I knew what I wanted going into dating, so that's why I wasn't upset. But anyway, we'll get more into that as we discuss dating and boundaries. And also, we're going to talk about the 3 different boundaries that are in dating, what those look like, how to set them, and all of that good stuff, okay? So let's get into it. So like I said, if you have not done your dating vision board, let's just call it that, back in episode 18, I believe I talked about that, then you need to do that. Because if you're going into dating and you don't have a vision for what you want your dating life to look like, and you just gonna be all types of jacked up. Because in your dating vision board, you talk about your needs and your wants and your desires. Based off that vision board, you'll be able to make your boundaries and what that looks like for whoever that you're going on a date with. Now, your needs really equal your boundaries on your dating board, and your needs are just the things that you absolutely need in order for you to thrive in your relationship. So boundaries, let me give you a definition. This is my definition, is setting limits that allow you to be healthy in a relationship. And setting limits that can be in personal finances, digital, physical, emotional, mental, all of that. So that just encompasses all of that. A lot of times I hear Christians say, well, you know, boundaries ain't biblical and boundaries ain't part of Christianity. That's the voice I hear when I hear people say stuff like that. And that's just not true, because we see boundaries a lot in the Bible. I mean, God told Adam and Eve they can eat from any tree, but this one particular tree, that's a boundary. Jesus rested from the crowds plenty of times. Like, he got away. Like, he was a slip away because he needed his rest. That's a boundary. So there are plenty of boundaries in the Bible. Those are just two examples. Again, healthy boundaries protect you. We want to make a fence and not a wall. A fence is something that you can still jump over. It's not it's permanent, but it's not permanent, right? If a good gust of wind come through, or a tornado come through, more than likely that fence is not going to be there anymore. But a wall, it can be tall, can't jump over a wall, especially if you got archers or snipers on the roof. That a wall literally isolates you from people. So we don't want to make walls. We want to make boundaries, okay? So there are 3 types of boundaries in a relationship, or even when you're dating. So you got your personal boundaries. Those are your boundaries. You got the relationship boundaries. Those are boundaries that both you and your partner agree upon. And then you also got your partner's boundaries, because your partner boundaries are probably going to be different than yours. Now, do some of these boundaries overlap between all 3? Absolutely. And we'll see that when we kind of go through the examples. But sometimes all 3 can be different. But there will be some overlap between all 3, and we'll see that later on. When it comes to boundaries, I want you to know communication is key. You have to communicate your boundaries. I'm going to say it again. You have to communicate your boundaries. I don't know what it is. Sometimes people are just like, this is my boundary. Do your partner know? No. Then how do they know to follow your boundary if you haven't expressed that or communicated that to your person? So please say things to your person. Just don't keep them to yourself and then get mad when that person don't meet your expectations or your boundaries. Open your mouth, say something. We all adults. Let's do that. So when we do communicate, we need to communicate assertively. So this is not no passive aggressive. This ain't passive. Oh my God, I would really like it. I mean, if you could, do X, Y, Z. Nah, this is my boundary. I'm not doing that. And that's the end of it. Also, when it comes to boundaries, learn how to say no. No is a complete sentence. No don't need an explanation. It can just be no. So if your partner asking you for sex and you don't want to do that, no. Your partner asking you for a kiss, you don't want to do that, no. If y'all have agreed that your partner will pay for dinner, and then all of a sudden he's like, I ain't got no money, this is the 3rd time this has happened, no. I pay for mine, but you have to figure out how to pay for yours, bruh. It's okay to say no. Because if you don't, you're going to become a people pleaser. We don't want you to become a people pleaser because you fill everybody else's cup and you don't fill your own, and then you running on E trying to fill up everybody else's cup and you ain't got nothing in your cup. We don't want that. So learn how to say no. Learn how to say your boundaries assertively. Also, when it comes to setting boundaries, it sets the tone for the relationship. We need to establish boundaries early on. So if y'all dating and before y'all make it official, have your boundaries out there. Let your partner know what you will not do and what your expectations are. And then, make sure that you guys both align and agree with each other's boundaries and what the relationship is going to look like. Again, know and understand your partner's boundaries, because your person's important too, especially if you like them. I hope you will respect their boundaries because they're trying to respect yours. And it'd be a mutual respect between both parties when it comes to boundaries. And at the end of the day, you guys both deserve respect. So boundaries in a relationship, they promote respect, they prevent manipulation, they set expectations, they promote closeness because you're expressing your needs and your wants to your person. And they also maintain individuality. So these are healthy boundaries, not that unhealthy stuff, okay? So we're about to get into that too. But when you set healthy boundaries, it does maintain individuality, because I know for me in my last relationship, I didn't do a good job at this. I literally was at this person's house all the time. I was on the phone with them all the time, always texting, and I kind of lost myself in a relationship and didn't do the things that I wanted to do at times. 'Cause I was just like, oh, I'm just over here. Oh, I'm doing this. And it got to be a lot. So when we finally broke up, I was like, oh, I need to do all the things I didn't do when I was in a relationship. And that's sad. Don't be like me. Take time for yourself and be able to take time for yourself and come back to the relationship. Like, that is totally fine. You need your space and you need your individuality in the relationship. Let's talk about healthy versus unhealthy boundaries. So healthy boundaries, again, protect you, and they create closeness. Unhealthy boundaries are controlling and manipulative, and they create distance. So if you want to know if you're creating an unhealthy boundary, ask yourself, will this boundary create distance between me and my partner, or will it create closeness? Now, my example of an unhealthy boundary, you might be like, oh, that creates closeness. It's an illusion of closeness. So this is the example. I need you to stop hanging with your friends because I'm jealous, or because you might be cheating with me or cheating on them with me, or insert blank. That is very unhealthy. It's controlling, it's manipulative. Like, don't do it. Some people might say, oh, that do create closeness, because you're saying that you don't want them to hang out with their friend. You're saying that, you want them to hang out with you. But yeah, that's still controlling, because you want this person to do what you want them to do because of your insecurities. And you need to work out your insecurities before you start telling people what to do. That's why it's unhealthy. Go get you a therapist or a mentor or your pastor, and then you come back and then you get in a relationship. Because ain't nobody finna tell me that I can't hang out with my friends. You need to go work on you before you tell me what I can do. How about that? So, just went on a whole little tangent there. So here are some examples of the different types of boundaries you can have in your relationship. First, we're going to start with the personal ones. A boundary can be no sex before marriage. If that is what God is calling you to, great. If you say, hey, I want to have sex before marriage, that's between you and Jesus, okay? But if you don't want to have sex before marriage, then that's your boundary. Public displays of affection. Some people like doing PDA. Some people don't. That is your boundary. You let your partner know that. Again, personal time. Will we have designated personal time in the relationship? Or will you just say, hey, Saturdays is brunch in the morning with my girls, and I'm doing that every Saturday, and you can't tell me nothing, okay? So figure out what that looks like for you in that personal time and let your partner know. Social media, that's a huge one. You may not even be on social, and that's okay. If you are on social, let them know what your boundary is. Your boundary might be like, I'm not going to follow you. I don't want to follow you. Like, I'm good. It may be, I want to follow you, and can we post? I want to post pictures of us. Is that okay? So being able to just express and communicate that to your partner. Now, your partner's boundaries may sound the same as yours, right? Talking about PDA, time spent outside the relationship, like with family and friends, and social media. So, and their boundaries are their boundaries. So learn to respect them. And then we have the relationship boundaries. These are the boundaries that both you guys agree upon. So again, that's posting each other on social media, sex, physical touch. Example of like time can be like a check-in. So a lot of times when I do couples counseling, I always tell my couples, hey, let's do a check-in, pick a day. I usually tell them to pick like Saturday or Sunday. That way they can spend an hour, 30 minutes to an hour just checking in, like, hey, what was the highlights of the week for you? What did I do great? What can I work on? Things like that. Just checking in with each other, making sure everything's okay, and maybe doing a devotional or answering questions from like, are we really strangers game or something like that. Another thing that I always tell my couples to do is pick a date night. Commit to it. Maybe once a week, every other week. It doesn't have to always be going out like to a movie. It can be staying in the house and watching a movie on Netflix. But that can be a relationship boundary. Like, we have to go out once a week in order to connect with each other. Therapy can be a relational thing. You don't have to be in trouble to be in therapy. Like, your relationship doesn't have to be on the rocks in order to be in therapy. Therapy's for everyone, whether you're doing great, whether you need to work on some things, go to therapy. Like you go to a doctor for a checkup, go to your therapist for a relationship checkup. And therapy can be personal too, right? So they may be, I'm going to therapy, my partner's going to therapy, and then we're going to therapy together just to make sure that we're working on our thing together. That is what boundaries can look like in a relationship. Some asterisks that I put on my notes. One of them is, if your boundaries don't align, evaluate if you want to continue the relationship. Again, this goes back to your dating vision board. If you, again, don't want to have sex and your partner wants to have sex, run for the hills. Like, they ain't for you, especially if you've already had sex and you're, like, whoo, I ain't trying to have sex with nobody. And this fine man come along, you like, whoa, okay, you want to have sex? Yeah, that's not what I want. I need to run. That's why I ran down the street, y'all. I was running for my life. Another thing is, it's okay to let someone go. So if someone doesn't align with your dating vision or they disrespect your boundaries over and over and over again, it's okay to say, hey, you know what? This ain't working out for me. I feel disrespected every time this happens. I've told you a number of times that I don't like that, and you continue to cross my boundaries. So, you know what? I'm just going to go ahead and head out. This ain't for me. And that's okay. Unless you guys commit to going to therapy and working some things out, then you don't have to stay with this person. Even if you all decide to go to therapy, you still ain't got to stay with the person. So this is a personal decision. Just make sure that you're okay with letting go, because you don't have to stay in that. And last and finally, it's okay to change your boundaries. Boundaries don't have to be permanent. One moment you might be, I don't want to follow you on social, and a year go by of you all dating, you're like, okay, I can follow you now. I feel comfortable, right? That's me. I don't never want to follow the people who I date on social media until I know for sure, like, we going somewhere and I'm like, okay, I can follow you. Another thing I know people do is they don't save their partner's phone number in their phone until they are actually together. I knew someone who, this is also me, I would never save people's numbers in my phone until I was like, yeah, we together. Now I can put your name in my phone. I don't know why. If anybody else do that, let me know, because I thought I was the only one until I found out my friend did it too. So I don't know if that's like a thing with people not saving their partner's number until it's official, but that's my thing. I mean, it was one time I had someone for 6 months. I just knew their number by heart. I'm like, that's such and such. But then again, I end up saving it. So boundaries are not permanent. They can change. They're fluid. It's okay to change your mind, period. And that's it. Thank you for listening. Go ahead and, I guess, subscribe on whatever podcast platform you're listening on to get those new episodes. Also, go out to the website. It's in the show notes, and take the quiz. It's What is Your Toxic Trait quiz. It's 7 quick questions. That way you can find out what your toxic trait is. I already had some people take it, and they said that it was spot on. So if you want to know what your toxic trait is, go take the quiz. It takes all of 3 minutes to do. Again, tell your auntie, uncle, and cousin and them about the episode and about the podcast. Thank you to everyone who is listening. Until next time, episodes drop on every Monday. Until next time, peace. Thank you for listening. Go ahead and share this episode with your family and friends. Don't forget to check out the quiz to figure out what your toxic trait is. The link is in the show notes. Thank you, and see you next time.